I think we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. The clocks are not exactly on, so please call meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good timing, Tom. Roll call is now that we have.
I think you can.
We're up here. We have a full board tonight. Before we go on, I've got something I want to state that it's before we proceed. I'm establishing the rules of order so the public understands the procedure for this meeting. The board will have discussion on the proposed resolution, and after the initial board discussion, there will be an opportunity for public comment. And if you would like to comment, raise your hand when you want to recognize by board chair, me. Please go to the podium, state your name, share your comment, and comments will be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes per person. And after public comments, the board will consider the resolution for voting on. So, with that, we need a motion for the resolution so we can have discussion. Mr. Chair? Yes.
I would propose that we adopt Resolution 555 dated January 23rd, 2014 with one deletion. My motion will delete the fifth whereas, and I will explain after we get into discussion why, but the paragraph that says whereas ISD 2154 Evelyn Gilbert and his Board of Education recognize that such collaboration between these school districts can result in a world-class education and facility for the students of the three school districts. The Board of ISD 2154 Evelyn Gilbert is willing to make certain concessions which may include the dissolution of its own 712 identity. My motion deletes that paragraph from the resolution.
Okay. We have a motion. We need a second.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Discussion on that?
Okay, like I said when I made the motion, the reason for deleting that paragraph is I think it's redundant, doesn't need to be said. The motion, or the whereas is at the beginning of the motion, certainly state that. The identity issue has been addressed in several of the handouts and the meetings that have been conducted so far. Whereas it mentions the identity is going to be there only for sports. The academic side of it will not be there. So as far as I can see, the identity of the separate school district stays intact, other than for for everything. So I think it's just redundant to have it in there.
Yeah. So we would have to vote on the amended section of this first before we have.
No, my motion was
No,
to not
have
include,
discussion on it.
to exclude that
Okay.
part of what was printed
Just
for
want to
us.
make sure I understand it, because I've seen also where we've had to vote on changes on things. That's usually when we
Yep.
add them, but.
In
just
this
wanna make
case,
sure.
the original motion did not include that paragraph.
Okay. Okay, open up to the board for discussion.
Do you think for the people who watch this on TV that this should be read?
Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
Whereas ISD number 2154 Evelyn Gilbert, through its Board of Education, recognizes that collaboration with ISD number 706 Virginia and ISD number 712 Mountain Iron Buell can result in an educational system and facility that will enhance the educational opportunities for the students of the Evelyn Gilbert, Mountain Iron Buell, and Virginia school districts, allowing those students to compete on a worldwide basis. And whereas ISD 2154 Evelyn Gilbert, through its Board of Education, has a strong and poignant desire and interest in participating in the process with ISD 712 Mountain Iron Buell and ISD 706 Virginia, leading to the implementation and construction of a joint world-class 712 innovative and technologically advanced school building. Whereas ISD 2154 Evelyn Gilbert expresses a willingness to construct and erect this new 712 facility and provide educational services to the 712 student bodies of the 3 school districts at a site outside of the ISD 2154 Evelyn Gilbert in order to effectuate and bring into fruition the desired end. Whereas ISD 2154 Evelyn Gilbert, through its Board of Education, is of the view and opinion that this may be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to collaborate on, pursue, effectuate, and implement an educational system never before seen on the Iron Range. Be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 2154, Evelyn Gilbert, to commence a process to create, establish, and implement a joint grade 712 school facility to be located within the ISD number 712 Moulton Iron Buell School District boundaries, preferably at or about the current Merritt Elementary site.
Okay. Now we can have
That
discussion.
was a lot of reading.
Yes. Okay. Anyone want to start the discussion? Anyone?
Well, I'll start. Part of it, what I will say is a review or recap of what I had at the last meeting. And one of the things I want to do, and partly for the audience, I did attend the meeting of the committee on January 13th, joint committee between MIB and Virginia. And I just want to touch on the agenda items that they had there. And I think it gives you a good idea of the process that we will be, hopefully we will become part of. They reviewed a short timeline of the history of various efforts at cooperation, collaboration, or whatever in the past. They had an update from a meeting with the commissioner of the IRRB, Tony Surdich. Steve Georgie, representative from Mount Iron Buell, gave a little recap of the discussion and basically said that Mr. Surdich is very much in favor, supportive of a collaboration, something like this. So I think the support would be there from the IRRB. Certainly from the commissioner, he has expressed that in the past, support for these kinds of efforts among the Quad Cities here. There was other topic was a draft plan, review of a draft plan on a joint powers board, but at that meeting they did not have even an outline to discuss or bring up, so that motion or that item was skipped. There was an update from Gary Cervenic, who is the consultant working on finding financing and so on for the collaboration. He gave a date of April 1st as kind of an end date to have the plan together, so there would be something definitive for the legislature to discuss or take up, rather than something just nebulous or whatever, to have a definite plan. And that's one of the reasons for a short timeline here, where things may seem to be happening fast, but there is a deadline in order to get support, hopefully, from the legislature for this funding. There was discussion then, hopefully, between the IRRB and production tax monies that might be coming available, and help from the legislature that it is possible that there would be 100% funding for this effort. If that's the case, there would not be any cost to taxpayers in any of the districts. Historically, Gary said that the legislature might fund 80% and have 20% for referendum. Might be 90-10, and on occasion, I think he said there's been 100% funding. But that's just one of the things that they're working on. One of the things that I thought was impressive of the plan is getting a pulse of the public. They're talking about, and I think it's in process already, doing polling, having Duke Scorich and his firm poll the residents. At that time, again, it's just Virginia and MIB residents, but would poll 300 residents from each of the districts. Duke Scorich said that would give a good cross-section of what the feeling in the community was. His experience, and he's been at it for like 30 years, kind of have to believe that it would be a good representation of the feeling districts-wide. The other thing that they're doing, and they may have started this process already, would be having like town hall meetings that would be conducted from a consultant who has worked with both of these districts in the recent past. Would be Dr. Bruce Miles, would perform public forums, hold public forums, kind of like a town meeting. Virginia and MIB gave a brief description of what they might be doing for their bricks and mortars in their school district, and then they scheduled the next meeting. But that's just a brief outline of the process that those two school districts are using, and would be something that we would become involved in, and whatever polling of the public, town hall meetings, or whatever you want to call them, public forums, we would be doing the same thing. I would hope that would be part of the process. Like I said, that's all I have at this point. We just wanted to review what was going on at that meeting.
Next, anyone?
I know you're all waiting for me to say something, because you know I will. I've been on the school board a long time, and I want to start by saying this is going to be the most difficult decision I think I've ever had to make as a school board member. And I'm not quite sure where to start. I believe that the stars have really aligned in terms of a surplus in the state budget, some strong taconite production, an IRRB commissioner who's very interested in education. And I applaud Mountain Iron and Virginia for recognizing that their current high school facilities aren't adequate and for seeking this funding. And while I applaud them for doing that, I have significant concerns that their voters don't really have input, and that a district like ours, where voters have over the years supported building bond referendums and allowed us to maintain our facilities in excellent shape, are in some way penalized because we won't be the recipients of this free money if we don't become a part of this. It pains me to think of not occupying this building. We just had a facility study completed, and in our high school building, all of our student spaces were rated adequate or better. I'm not sure that that was true of the facility studies that the other two districts did, although I'm not privy to them. It bothers me a lot that there won't be voter input in those districts. I first became interested in being a member of the school board when pairing and sharing was taking place and the consolidation discussions were going on. And although I recognize there's still a lot of emotion in communities with regards to that, I do think in the long run, that process is open and the public, all the public gets to weigh in. And I thank the voters for putting their trust in me for 20 years to make good decisions, but I think some decisions are bigger than the 7 of us. And this just might be one of them. So I am just personally really struggling with what is the best direction for our district. If we don't become a part of this collaboration and conversation, are we left out forever? Have we done a disservice to our students? And if we do become a part of it, have we done a disservice to our communities? So I just think it's just a really tough situation. I'm interested in what the members of the public have to say, and I'd really like to hear what the other board members are thinking.
Well, okay, well, we have, as a board, we have 2 commitments. The first commitment is to provide the best education for the students available. And our second commitment is also a commitment to the taxpayers. So these are the 2 basic commitments that we really have, and the students come first. And I believe that with the polls of that we can get community input into this, and to give the board a little guidance too of what the community is thinking out there. And if the cost of this does not bear upon the taxpayers again, I believe this is maybe the direction that we have to go. And I think also maybe there's different ways of approaching the community other than just a 300 poll. Maybe what we should do is with our students, send it home to the parents and let them come back with input too. Then this way we'll get a broader input of what the community thinks. And like I say, this I believe will give us direction for the board to proceed.
The trouble is, we don't have that opportunity if we don't vote in favor of this
Well,
resolution.
I'm saying we can vote in favor of the resolution, but also, are we going to be tied down to it if it passes and it goes into a referendum? Are we going to be committed then? Or can we say, hey, we want to drop out?
My understanding, and correct me if someone else sees this differently, is that Mountain Iron Buell and Virginia do not intend to go to their voters. They intend to poll and they intend to conduct community meetings, but they do not intend to have a formal vote on this from all of their citizens within their school districts.
Well, this is just a thought I had to get input from the community.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
In answer to the vote issue, school boards cannot, by law, hold an advisory referendum.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there will be opportunities to get feedback from the public, not just with the survey, public forums, there will be other opportunities. Some of us may have had those already, people talking to us. I do not believe it is the intention, and I can't speak for Mountain Iron and Buell Board, to not try to avoid going to the public. The only way that could happen is if there comes back with 100% funding. Now, there's nothing to hold a referendum on.
Yeah.
If the funding comes back at 90% of the total cost, then you have to have the referendum on that final 10%. But I'm sure it is not their intention, it would not be my intention to try to circumvent a vote of the public.
No.
We have to try to find out as much as we can how they're feeling. And again, we have only 2 months to do this in, so we got to do it in a lot of different ways. And as far as a final permanent commitment to this, I don't think that's the case, because in the handout that the MIB in Virginia had, there's a comment in there to one of the common questions that the two school boards will discuss, study, and advance the concept. That's all we are committing to, in different words. You can either, the motion has different words, the resolution, but the concept is study, advance, and discuss the concept. And that's what we owe to our students and to our taxpayers. We need to look at what might provide an enhanced educational opportunity for 712. I believe we all have a copy in front of us of what the three principals got together today, this morning. And you have a copy of comparison of the offerings from each of the three school districts that are currently being held, and what the class sizes are and so on. And not going to go through each of those line by line, but you have that information in front of you. But I think what is really important is the options for change that those principals identified. Cut down on online classes, have more in-school options, differentiate advanced honors core courses, elective options in all subject areas, additional college credit course options, eliminate travel time to shared vocational courses, allowing more time for additional in-house courses. I think that is really important. We now have students traveling back and forth between the districts. And it's not just, they have to leave a class early to get to that class, and then they come back to the existing school late for a class, miss the part of those classes. I think the principals that have identified several really important aspects of increased curriculum that would be available to us. And I agree with Mary that this school district and prior boards for the last however many years have taken very good care of our bricks and mortars. in our school. But my emphasis here, what I'm looking at is curriculum, and advanced curriculum for grades 7 through 12 for those students. I think it's an excellent opportunity, and one probably not going to have again. There's a lot of feeling among the IRRB, local delegation, range delegation, talked for years about cooperation between the districts. And I think at the end of the meeting Monday, that many of us were there in the audience, not participating, but listening, Steve George again from Mount Iron had a very, I think, important comment. At the end of the meeting, they had time for board member comments, and I don't have it exactly, but paraphrasing what he said, if the Mount Iron Board and the Virginia Board chose not to accept Evelyn Gilbert into the process, he said the legislatures, the range delegation, IRRB are going to ask one very important question: why? They want to see cooperation happening and collaboration between us. And I think that goes toward future help from those entities for anything we might want to do if we're a standalone district, or for our K-6 that would be remaining in our district. It's a very important aspect of this process.
Okay, thank you. Mona, did you want to make a comment on it?
No.
Okay. Beth?
I have one fear, and that if we don't participate in this, that our district will eventually be swallowed up, and we will lose everything.
Exactly.
I have that same fear.
And I've had several sleepless nights being my own devil's advocate. And there's a part of me that says yes. I mean, it's a risk either way. We may not exist as we are in 5 years if we're not a part of this. Or if this opportunity doesn't pan out for those two districts, we may be in a very different position to say, send your students to our campus. You know, and how do you look in your crystal ball and say which will happen? We have solid facilities. We have a campus that has space. We have an option right now of putting a second floor on our new science wing. We can make space by demolishing an unused building on our parking lot. I am so torn because I think regardless of what we do, we'll always be saying coulda, shoulda, woulda.
But another way to look at it too, Mary, is even though we have a little bit of added space right now, if we don't go with this, we'll have even more added space. Because the kids will go to the higher advanced technological building in Mount Iron.
I agree that initially
You know,
a building that's bright and new and technologically advanced will attract students.
Right.
I'm not sure in the long run if that will be the case. They may find that they don't like to be one student in a class of 200 or 250.
And that's
They may
true.
like the smaller school atmosphere. If you look at, and I just saw this afternoon for the first time, if you look at our course offerings, we have many, and we have very small class sizes.
I was just looking at that tonight, yes.
We don't have as many sections of, say, 8th grade English as they do in Virginia, but we also are not in the situation that Mount Iron Buell is in, where some of their classes are shared. You know, they have
Right.
9th and 10th grade sharing a class and alternating years. So I think we have some room to shrink and still offer outstanding curriculum, but I also believe that there would be more opportunities in the other facilities. So again, I'm
Right,
just pulled.
Yeah, you're being pulled both ways.
I really
yes.
am. I question, quite honestly, very frankly, for those from Mount Iron who are listening, the wisdom of locating a school with 1,000 or more students on the Highway 169 corridor when you have retail development going on there. And I understand they own 50-plus acres there, but I wouldn't be doing my job as a board member if I didn't question the safety of access to that area from a highway corridor, and if in fact that is the best location. I know a study was done in, I believe it was 2009, Mountain Iron in Virginia had some funds to do a facility study. They looked at potential locations for buildings. I believe the number one spot that they came up with was on Southern Drive, but aesthetically it wasn't a very pleasing spot. The number two spot when they did their study was the Evelyn High School campus, our complex here. Another spot that was studied was along 135 between Gilbert and Virginia. I'm not sure if that's viable with the relocation they're looking at for Highway 53. So while I don't believe a new building has to be within our district attendance boundaries, I, for one, have a very difficult time with the Highway 169 Merritt location, even though I know there's like 50 acres there. So that's another place I'm torn, even if I supported this resolution to further the discussion, to be a part of that discussion. I have a very difficult time with the location suggested.
But also, Merritt Elementary has been there for I don't know how many years, and it's an elementary, and you have kids outside playing in the, at recess. And I haven't heard of any injuries caused by any cars hitting the kids.
Leon Merritt Elementary was there prior to the retail development.
That's
Most
true.
elementary kids don't drive cars like high school students
Yeah.
do.
But that could be,
Unfortunately.
but that high school student, it doesn't matter where the building is.
Well, that's
you know.
true. I think we were in high
I
school
just
once.
emphasize
It's
the
just,
concern.
I'm playing devil's advocate here,
I'm playing
I
it in
agree,
my own head.
But I mean,
I believe we were told by the members of the Mountain Iron Buell School Board, at least two of them verbalized that the only way we could be a part of this is if we passed a resolution that agreed to that site, and then if we passed a second resolution that agreed to share the costs for the consultant and the lobbyist, or the public relation firm and the lobbyist. And so if we want to have any more discussion about this with those two entities, we have to accept this wording that
Correct.
includes that site.
Yeah.
For me, that's tough.
I think that we're in a position where we have to do something. We can't sit back and stay neutral in the discussion part of this anyhow. Because I agree with everything that's been said at the table tonight about if we don't do it, we're gonna lose. We could lose students. We could be smaller. We've got great buildings, granted, but you need kids to fill those buildings. And I think that we have to be involved with this because I think it's the time to do it. I mean, I've been on the board since pairing and sharing between Evelyn and Gilbert, and when we consolidated. So I got a little insight of what's going to be happening, how many meetings we're going to have, and what we have to go through, and also the questions from the public. But we have to get involved in this. As much as it's not the perfect solution as far as on paper, I think we have to do it because we have to see where it's going. I think we have to protect our students. We have to make sure we give them the best opportunity that we can possibly give them. And that's the number one priority. Otherwise, people at this table shouldn't be up here. So I'm going to support it simply on that reason. Is it perfect? No. I've had a couple of few hours of not sleeping at night also, Mary. In fact, over the years, many hours of not sleeping. But our number one objective up here is, like Tom said, the kids. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
If not, then we should resign and go on with our life. And make room for somebody who wants to be up here and who wants to help support the kids and give them the best education we can. This is one place to start. We have to.
And I'm sure that some of the board members in Virginia and on MIB have the same feeling that it's the best for the kids, but is it all right? No. Can it be better? Well, we can tweak it.
Yeah.
I realize we're coming into this at a later stage, and Mountain Iron and Buell and Virginia have been discussing this for quite some time. But I think we should go with it and support the resolution. Personally, I think so. And it's still going to be, my understanding, if I'm right, it's still contingent upon the funding for this. So if the funding isn't there, then the project doesn't fly, right?
Then we're back to square one.
Yeah, we're back to square one. If we don't participate, we can lose students. And if we do participate, we're still going to lose students. So it's still what's best for the students. You know? I think this is our ultimate goal that we have to consider, because I still say they are number one.
My comment on Mary's idea of adding on to this building and being the 712 school or whatever, well, or stand on our own, okay, and expand the building. We don't have the students to do that. And as far as I'm concerned, I believe there would be no chance of getting funding to do that, other than our taxpayers funding it, which I think is very unlikely. I just don't see that as a viable option at all. Even if this collaboration does not work, and we remain an independent K-12 system, I do not see spending that kind of money to add more space to our complex when we can't fill what we have. I just can't see it. I just don't think that's a viable option. It's not even worth discussing, I don't think.
Mark, I don't think I said we should do that. I think I said we could.
Well, it could
We have a facility that could accommodate more.
Yes,
And I
but,
think there's a big difference between me saying could and should.
and could, but would not be filled anywhere near. I just don't think it's a viable could possibility.
I have a couple other concerns. I might as well put them out there.
That's what we're here for.
They spoke about this at that Monday evening meeting as being a new concept, a shared facility concept, that it's not been tried. I think there was one district that tried and it ended up being dissolved. But I'm not sure it's a new concept to have a shared facility so much as a new name for something that's been done in the past, and that's called pairing and sharing. But they're using a new name for it. So I have a concern about that. There was a lot of talk about
It's not me, not mine.
There was a lot of talk about transparency at that meeting, and I'm concerned that the new concept of a shared facility is not entirely transparent. I guess I'll leave it at that. I have concerns about the grade configuration. I'm not sure that it's developmentally appropriate for 7th and 8th graders to be in the same facility as 9th through 12th graders. I think if you look at the difference between a 7th and 8th grader and a high school student, there is a difference. It might behoove us all, in all 3 school districts, to be looking at a senior high school, a 9th through 12th grade facility, look at other options for 7th and 8th graders. You know, I just have had a gajillion thoughts over the last 3 days, and I want to put some of them out there and then hear some reaction from the public.
Anything else?
No, hold for now.
Anyone else on the board? Okay. I guess we'll open it up to the public for comments. So anyone who has some questions, comments? they would step up the podium, state their name, and share your comment. 5 minutes. Anyone? No takers?
My name's Julie Spearing. I'm a parent and a taxpayer in the district and a member of the larger community of the Iron Range in the business and social communities. I wanted to thank you all for everything you do for our district and the kids. I support this resolution, and I'd like to see us get on the boat. I think we do a disservice to our kids to not be part of this process. And I think that's what it is at this point, is a discovery and learning where this is going to go. I think we're a long ways from seeing that building built. I have concerns about the location. I have concerns about the size. I'm worried about it getting too big. And I like your comments, Mary, about the possibly looking at it as a 9 through 12 school instead of a 7 through 12. So I just wanted to let you guys know that as a community member, I do support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes?
My name is Tucker Nelson, and I've only been on this earth for 17 years, so I don't exactly have quite as much experience with this sort of thing as all of you do. And I guess this is speaking from the perspective of a student. And this isn't just about any of the 3 districts or the 5 communities. I mean, I would love to have a new school. I think it would be nice. I'm sure it would be a very technologically advanced and modern facility. But I guess new isn't always better. I mean, I'm a huge history buff. You might have seen me on the Channel 10 news a few months ago about a project I was doing for the Virginia Library. And I guess my main concern isn't about students, which is probably kind of hypocritical of me, considering I'm a student myself and I would have friends and relatives that could be affected by this new building. But that is my main concern, is the buildings that we have that would be left behind. I mean, even this facility, this building, the buildings in Gilbert, Virginia, Mountain Iron, even Buell, they don't build schools like that anymore. I mean, even just looking at the little details, the ornamental trim, the woodwork, the design, the auditoriums, the gyms, it's something you don't really replicate. And I guess my concern is that we'd be doing a disservice to these buildings by leaving them behind, all 3 districts. I mean, my grandpa drives a 1985 Ford F-150 that gets about 10 miles to the gallon, and it's full of rust, but he keeps driving it, probably because he's stubborn, but also because he keeps putting money into something, because he invests in things rather than just replacing it with something new. I mean, the combined age of the buildings in all these school districts are probably well over 500, and they've lasted this long. You know, what's to say that they couldn't last another 50 years with proper maintenance and care? These buildings, they've been modernized, and like, I'm not an education expert, but I guess my thought is use what we have, because there's not a whole lot you can do once these buildings are empty. You know, what are you going to do with them besides use them for a school? If you tear them down, you can't get them back. And I don't think a new building could ever quite have the charm or the atmosphere that these old buildings do. I mean, I was a student here in the Evelyn Gilbert district for 10 years, and I think the Evelyn and Gilbert campuses both work very well. I mean, the buildings are They're very pretty. I think as far as the grade configurations and the design of the facilities, they work really well. In Virginia, the Virginia campus is a maze. It's very big. It's been added onto quite a bit, but it works well. And I can't say I'm familiar with either of the buildings in Mountain Iron, but I would think it would be a shame to see these existing buildings go to waste because we're attracted to something shiny and new. And this, again, this is coming from a student's perspective. So I guess I would be willing to give up a new computer or a few new classes if it meant that we were interested in preserving history and reusing what we already have by investing that money towards making these already very nice buildings even nicer. And I guess that's there are a lot of positives that could come from this. I agree with that. I'm just not sure it's the right choice. Those are my main concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Roger Kashiver. I'm at 703 Auburn in Eveleth, and I'd like to share some of my perspectives on education and my evaluation of the Eveleth school district, especially secondary education. Bore you a little bit. My background: I'm a graduate of Eveleth High School. I'm a graduate of electrical engineering, University of Minnesota Institute of Technology, and I spent my whole life as a electrical engineer in the Twin Cities area. And as such, it's been lifelong education, just like the cliche. It's real. And during that time, I've had educational experiences in universities, community colleges, in company courses. And then as I retired, I decided I got interested in forest ecology. Went down to University of Minnesota, got a degree in forest ecology, and it's about 2 years ago, and I moved up here. I don't know anyone in the district. I don't know a teacher. I don't know the board. I don't know any employees. I really just trying to share my perspective on what you have here. I decided I was going to look at the curriculum of the school. And I wasn't expecting very much. I've been with college students here in the last few years in University of Minnesota, and I was completely surprised, pleasantly surprised with the way I did it was I looked at the teachers' websites to look at their curriculum, what their plans are, and my opinion is that the Eveleth-Gilbert School District is right on par with what the University of Minnesota is doing. Is the University of Minnesota a world-class facility? I don't know, maybe MIT, maybe California Institute of Technology. I don't know what, I'm trying to get the definition of a world-class facility. I remember when I was working back years ago, we said we're going to make a smart building. So we put a local area network in there, and that was a smart building. Now, are we looking at the facilities that we have here? I think we got a good curriculum here. I could step, I think, from the University of Minnesota. The buildings are not new at the University of Minnesota. They're well kept up, but they're not real buildings. They're not world, I don't know if you call them world-class. I think it's a world-class organization, but the buildings aren't new. They've managed to get the technology in them. I think, I guess sum it up, I'm really surprised, and I think Evelyn Gilbert has a really good system. I don't know what we mean by world-class here. I'd like to get some definitions. I think you had a little bit, you gave a little bit honors program and everything, but you got a beautiful campus here. It's like a small college. It's off the traffic. You can go downtown. Students can go downtown. We got buildings here. I'd hate to see us get blitzed in a political situation here. With we want to give everybody a chance to weigh in on this issue, but I have to say there's merit in the consolidation. But is that really the way education is going? I do professional development hours training. I go on web-based courses. These are Massachusetts Institute of Technology instructors, worldwide electrical engineers. I would call that world-class. That's kind of the trend. And I see that, we have that here in Evelyn and Gilbert. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Kristen Troutwine, former resident of Evelyn, graduate of Evelyn Gilbert High School. I have 3 students in the system right now, and I think it's a wonderful school district. I don't know where to start. I don't want this to get really long, but I want to say that I fully expected, as I was going through my 20s, that this type of discussion would have happened and this type of thing would have progressed a lot sooner than it looks like it might right now. It's surprising to me that it has taken this long to figure out how to make things maybe a little bit easier for all 3 of these districts. We have a difficult time. I don't know if I'm going to be talking with the right language here, but it seems like it's very difficult to make sure that we have the monies that we need in each of these districts to offer the kids what they deserve and what they need. And it's frustrating to feel like you have to go out and fight to get a referendum passed whenever we don't have enough money. And then I'm a parent and I think, oh no, we have to cut this. Oh no, we have to cut this. Why do I have to struggle and worry about my children and what they are offered when I have to work and my husband has to work and we have to run my kids around and we don't have time to worry about those types of things all the time? It would be nice to not have that in the back of my head as my kids move through school. And I think this provides an opportunity for my children and the children in all 3 of these districts to have that without the struggles, possibly, of having to go out for a referendum every several years. I don't know if that will be prevented. I don't know if that will insulate us from those issues, but I think it's a start. It seems like it might. The reality now is there's open enrollment and children will move to a district, or parents will move their children to a district where they feel like they have better opportunities. It's a reality. I know if we stay here in our own district, I love this district. I'm committed. I was one of the big people out there trying to get that last referendum passed. I wanted it to happen. But at the same time, I can't believe we wouldn't move forward and look at this option, because it seems like it might make things easier for everyone. And we might have more cooperation with residents from all 3 communities instead of feeling like we're fighting all the time. There's no reason for that. There isn't. I think that's all I have to say. I fully support and am very happy to see that this has been put forward, so.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
I have not been attending the meetings due to some family health issues. What's the next step after this resolution? I mean, I understand there are meetings coming up and that there's further discussion, but what's the next action that needs to be taken by the board following this?
The first step, if we pass this, when we pass this, is to be accepted by Virginia and MIB to join in on this venture. And then we also have to have a motion at another meeting to actually, once we're accepted, to participate, I believe, with the costs. Sharing the costs. Lobbyists, research.
That does the research, and probably get involved with Bruce Miles, who's the consultant who's doing the public forums in each of the other districts. My understanding is that if we pass this resolution, the Virginia board and the MIB board would have to go back and amend their resolutions to include Evelyn Gilbert, because their original resolutions only include Virginia and MIB.
Anything else? No?
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, I think we need to repeat the resolution
Reading the whole thing.
before,
Resolution 555, it's a resolution of commitment to commence a process leading to the implementation of a world-class 7 through 12 educational system and facility with ISD 712 Mount Norm Buell and ISD 706 Virginia.
okay. We have a motion already and a second, and we've had some discussion.
Mr. Chair, I
Yes.
think that it would be beneficial to have the resolution or the motion read again so everyone is clear as
Okay.
to what the motion was.
Kathy, would you read that back on Mark's resolution? With the exception that he removed that one?
The motion is, as you read, to commence a process leading to the system, but taking out the paragraph where it indicates that Evelyn Gilbert is willing to make certain concessions which may include the dissolution of its own 712 identity.
Okay, I think it was paragraph 5, I believe it was there.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, having read that, we need a roll call vote for resolution.
Leon?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes?
Keith?
Yes?
Tom?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Mona?
No.
And Mary? No.
Motion passes on a 5-2 vote. So, we have representation from the Virginia board here this evening, so I'm sure the word will get back, but also if you would contact the superintendent to let them know.
I will.
And because it's a special meeting, no other business can be entertained this evening, so we need a motion to adjourn.
Can I make a comment
Yes.
before we do that? I just want to make it very clear that my no vote is not, no, I don't like this process. No, I don't support a joint school. But my no vote is, I don't care for the way this is happening. I would be happy to look out of our boundaries. I would happy to pay for consultant costs. But I feel very uncomfortable with the process that's taking place.
Okay,
Okay, now you can adjourn.
I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second. All those in favor? Say aye. Motion. We're adjourned. Thank you. Thanks everyone who came this evening.